Let's begin with neighbor to neighbor. So neighbor to neighbor, thank you so much.
I'll just come over there.
Sure.
Hi everyone. My name is Gabe. I'm the organizer for Neighbor to Neighbor in Lynn. Thank you all so much for coming. And thanks to all our members for putting this together and making this happen. And thank you to the candidates for being here and speaking with us. And I want to have the other folks, if somebody from ECHO and from Highlands Coalition want to come up and introduce themselves, that would be wonderful.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Bernadette Hickman Maynard. I am a racial justice organizer with ECHO, Essex County Community Organization. I'm also the pastor of Bethel AME Church in Lynn in Ward 4. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, the candidates who have come. We really appreciate your presence here because we at ECHO, we are a diverse organization, a faith-based organization made up of about 40 congregations across the North Shore. We have been fighting for racial justice and economic justice for many years, and we already know that the candidates who are here are about justice and economic justice and racial justice. And it's interesting to see the ones who are not here. So I am so excited about this evening. I'm so glad to be working with Neighbor to Neighbor, Pathways, and the Highlands Coalition, and we see I saw Jeff from the New Lynn Coalition as well. It's our time to come together and to fight for everybody in Lynn so that they have representation, so that there's equity, so that there's justice for all. So thank you all for coming, and looking forward to a great night.
I'll just say quickly before Highlands Coalition speaks, that was far better than my introduction, thank you. I just wanted to also share a little bit about what Neighbor to Neighbor is, because I clearly was not on the ball with that. So we're also a community-based organization. We have chapters in Lynn, Worcester, Springfield, and Holyoke. And so this is obviously the Lynn chapter. And we organize around a number of intersecting social justice issues around racial justice, housing justice, transportation justice, and we work in tandem with that, push for better representation in communities that have not been represented in their local governments and in the state government, particularly communities of color and lower income communities. And we're made up of community members throughout the community. We're a great volunteer base of members, and we'd love to have anybody who's interested get involved with us as well, and encourage you to get involved with ECHO and Highlands Coalition and Pathways also. Thank you. I'll hand it over to Tish.
Hello everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Tish Mukala. I am the chair of the Highland Coalition. I live in Ward 4. As we all know, Ward 4 is the most diverse and the most immigrant ward in Lynn, Massachusetts. And what I learned is the problem that impact us in the Highland impact all of us in Lynn. So I'm here and I'm a firm believer of fighting for one Lynn for all, justice for all, and housing for all. That's why I'm in this fight. That share our view and our vision, and this is just so exciting for us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And just as we begin, I'll introduce our candidates for this evening. Just to start off, we have a number of incumbents who are not present this evening. And in addition, we had a really unfortunate turn of events, and for that reason, candidate Elizabeth Figueroa Perez cannot be here, and so that's an unfortunate. She was very, very excited to be here. She wanted to share her passion with you all. We have some of her responses to some of our questions, and we're happy to share that with you. But please be sure to grab some information from out front for her campaign. in support for her run in Ward 2. So we also have this evening joining us, thank you so much for being here, folks, Natasha Madrid, a very proud member of several organizations here in Lynn, a parent at FACT, which is the parent group at KIPP, where her children attend school. She's also a member of Neighbor to Neighbor and serves on their board. She also serves her community in roles as an advocate, a licensed attorney, a wife, a mom of 5 wonderful children, and her favorite place in Ward 4 is Red Rock, because it's a calming, beautiful space. Thank you so much for being here, Natasha. And representing and running for Ward 3 Councilor is Coco Allen. So Coco serves on the board of directors for the Lynn Community Association, the Goldfish Pond Association, and the board of directors for Lynn Community Television. He's the chair of the Lynn Cultural Council. With all these organizations, he and his husband Peter have been involved with numerous activities and programs benefiting those in need in Lynn, as well as overseas. You're likely to see him all hours helping the community, from testing people for HIV, to distributing warm clothes during the winter, to providing counseling to folks in downtown Lynn. And his favorite place in Ward 3 is Goldfish Pond, where as a board member of the association, he can dive deep into the history since the pond doesn't allow swimmers. So, thank you so much for being here. We're gonna get into the question and answer session. Just so you all are aware of our format tonight, we have a large chunk of time to go over 5 questions that the organizations that you just heard from have prepared. These are thought out questions from their organizations and their members who are active participants in this community. On top of those 5 questions that will be asked, you have all received note cards and a small pencil on your seat. If you didn't receive one, you can grab a note card and a pencil down by the door here at the bottom of the stands. If you think you have a question to follow up with any one of our responses, please feel free at any time to write your question down, or multiple questions. You do not have to put your name, just put what ward you are writing from, what ward you are representing. Hold it up. One of our ushers will be sure to come by and grab your question. And we're gonna go through the questions over here just to make sure that we have like multiple questions on a common theme get addressed, multiple questions for one or both of the candidates that might be running on the same idea get addressed. We're just gonna make sure that we can compile those best questions from you all in the best way possible. And with whatever time we have remaining after our prepared questions, we will address questions from the audience. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna run with about 3 minutes for each candidate to respond to our 5 prepared questions. And we're gonna have one member from each organization read these questions, and our panel is going to respond to them. So in a little competition we did before we started, Natasha came out victorious, so Natasha will begin, and Coco will be the next person to go first for question number 2, and we'll go back and forth in that way, okay? Great. All right, so let's get started. First off, we have a volunteer from Neighbor to Neighbor. Lehi Blee is going to be reading our first question. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Lehi Blee, and I live in Ward 7, and my question is, what specific actions will you take to ensure that communities of color, immigrant and refugee communities, and working class communities are being seen and heard in your ward and in the city? More specifically, what will you do to increase outreach, communication, visibility, and accessibility for these communities, including addressing language access?
Thank you for the question. Thank you all first for coming tonight. I really appreciate the fact that you're all wanting to hear about the candidates and see what we bring to the table. So I really appreciate the question. I really feel that Lynn is a very diverse city, but and we have lots of resources in our wonderful city. But when we look at the leadership in our city, it is not as diverse as it should be. Walking around Ward 4, I've talked to several residents who don't even know who their counselor is. They don't know how to access their counselor, and that's a problem. So what we need to do is have regular meetings within the ward, which we don't have currently. We need to have, this needs to be in different parts of Ward 4, so it can't just be one specific area. So I think we should have, and during these meetings, they should be interpretation available so that everybody feels like they're included and they're important, because they are, because they all live, all of our residents live in our city, and as diverse as the city is, interpretation is not provided at a lot of meetings. So we don't even have meetings in Ward 4, but if we had them, we need to make sure that it's inclusive. And if you think about all the, like the young moms who also might want to come to these meetings, maybe we could provide a space or meet at a park so that we can have, like, the kids have something to do, so the moms can, or the dads can also take part. Because so many people want to be involved, they're just not sure, like, how to be involved. So I also think that we should have monthly newsletters, because we need to know, like, what is going on in the ward. If we don't know what's going on in the ward, then we can't be present in our community, right? So there has to be multiple avenues that we can all be present, and this has to be, and also your counselor should be active on social media, because that is the way of the future, and that's where we are now. And when you look at all the young adults, they use social media, and we need to make sure that we are also using social media to reach those voters and those residents, because it's also very important. So yeah, we just need to be more inclusive. We need to just know our neighbors, have regular meetings, and just be consistent. We need to make it easy for people to know how to reach their counselor, and make sure that there's interpretation available too. So you're reaching out to your counselor, and they should be able to communicate in whatever language they need. So those are some of the ideas that I have as far as making sure that Lynn is more diverse. Just like everybody has a voice, and everybody needs a voice at the table. So many people think their voice doesn't matter, and so they don't vote. And so please, I'm here to tell you that, like, if I'm the counselor, I'll make sure that your voice is going to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Before basically Natasha explained everything what I have in mind, but you know, I just want you to know, just looking at you guys, it's an honor for me to be here with Natasha, because there's a lot of worthy leaders in Lynn who are sitting there now, who could be our next city councilors. And the reason why we're all here is because we need you guys to advise us and tell us on what to do. No man is an island. I'm always a team player, and I always listen to people. When I got the email from this forum, my husband and I and some of our friends are scheduled to go somewhere. Tomorrow I'll be celebrating my 50th birthday. So we're supposed to leave today, but we canceled that and move it tomorrow because I decided to run for city councilor, so I have a commitment, an obligation to talk to you, and I have an obligation to be here. The fact that there's only two of us here really makes me feel sad, because as public service, as city councilor, we have that commitment. We are your voice in the city council. So when I say voice, it's not just purely English. I am Filipino. English is my third language. But I also understand how it feels to be somebody who don't understand what's happening in our city. So I think with what Natasha had said, we need to have translation services. We need to translate some of our city materials so residents here could understand what's happening in our city. We need to utilize people in our city. There's a lot of second generation Lynners who speaks different languages. Utilize that. Get some interns and work in City Hall. These kids would love to have that experience working in city government and at the same time contributing to the upliftment of the city. We need to move forward and remove from the old traditional way of governing this city, because this city is changing, and you can just see the excitement of people running from different positions, from different colors, different backgrounds. It's a testament that Lynn is really moving that direction. Thank you.
Thank you both for those responses. Our second question is going to come from a representative.
Sorry, just wanted to check if we have Elizabeth's answers for any of these. That was like I don't know if you're already on that. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure to read the ones that we're,
Perfect,
that are-
thank you so much.
Sure. So our second question this evening will come from a representative from ECHO.
Hi, my name's Helen, and I'm representing ECHO tonight. Recently, the mayor proposed, the city council, and the city council approved a $500,000 to create ALERT, the All-Lynn Emergency Response Team, for this fiscal year. The vision is for ALERT to use trained mental health professionals and crisis responders to respond to nonviolent emergencies such as mental health crisis, homelessness, noise complaints, instead of the police. This is so that vulnerable populations who are afraid to call the police or have been historically harmed by the police will get the services they deserve. Will you continue voting unarmed crisis response into the city budget and ensure it remains independent from law enforcement? Describe how you would envision this concept and the role it will play in our community.
Thank you, Helen, for that question. You know, when you're attending a forum with different candidates, it will give you opportunity to write and prepare your answer. I was looking at Natasha writing, but since it's my turn to speak first, I have to collect everything in my head. Number one is yes, we need to continue supporting and funding that. I'm also a firm believer of learning best practices from everywhere. This is a new approach that a lot of cities and towns are adapting. Not a lot. Some cities and towns are adapting, and others they need to gauge the results in a quarterly basis. I think for Lynn, since this is new, we need to have that experience as well, and we need to document that experience. And at the same time, learn from other cities, not only nearby cities and towns, but other states as well. That team is very important. I think we need participation from a lot of organizations, not only professionals like therapists and social workers, but at the same time, the community, like the Gulf Respond Association, Highlands organization, knows their community better. I think input from them is very vital for this approach.
I agree with what Coco said, and as well, I would definitely support that initiative all the time. It's so important. Mental health is so for me, it's personal, right? Because my dad suffers from mental health, and he has bipolar and has manic episodes, and it's really hard. Like, my biggest worry is that something, would happen to him, right? So, like, we need to make sure, like, if you have an unarmed response, that should how it should be, right? Because safety is the most important thing, and I don't know, it's really hard, and I really definitely support that because we just need to have more services for people and not just the people that are suffering from the mental illnesses, but their families as well, because this is really like a hard situation, right? So we need all-out support, and like Coco said, we need all the organizations to work together. We have over 300 nonprofits in Lynn, and we all need to take a part in this. I am a mom of black sons, so I'm so worried every time my son, he's 14, he's walking around Lynn, and I'm worried, right? It's like one of my biggest fears, like to be black and to be a male and to walk around the city. It's scary for me as a mom. And every time he's out, I'm always worried. And I just think it's different for moms with sons of color already, because it's a different walk that we walk. But I worry all the time for my sons specifically, and all the black boys that are walking around. And I want my sons to and all the boys to have a relationship we're not afraid of the police, because the police are there to help us, but we need to make sure that we do better. We need to make sure that we have these cameras and that they are not targeting our kids, and they are doing the right thing, because it's so important. You know, we need to trust the police, but at the same time, like, I do worry as a mom. And, yeah, so as far as this program, I definitely support it. And we need to just make sure, like, it'll always come down to money. Oh, there's not enough money. Like, no, this is a priority, and we need to find the money to make sure that this program would stay. It needs to stay. We need to do better. Like, we just need to figure out where the money's going and spend it on things like this. So I would definitely support it. Thank you.
Thank you both again. Yeah, just a reminder, if people are coming up with questions while these responses are coming along, please feel free to write your questions out, and one of our ushers will be sure to grab them. Our third question will come to us by a representative from Neighbor to Neighbor.
Hi, my name is Rua, and I live in Ward 6. So the question is, low-income communities, communities of color, and other marginalized groups suffer disproportionately from rising temperatures. Lynn is no exception. From health impacts like reduced air quality and heat-related illness and mortality, to infrastructure issues like overburdened stormwater and sewer systems leading to flooding and property damage, to impacts on public spaces and quality of life like the pollution at Queens Beach. The implications are extensive and touch on all aspects of life. As City Councilor, what actions would you take to address these issues and ensure that Lynn is resilient in the face of the climate crisis?
Thank you for that question. So it's so important. So one of my favorite places in Lynn is Red Rock, right? The beach area is beautiful, but often you smell like smells from over there as well. Even though it's beautiful, there's like this odor that's over there as well. So we need to do better to make sure that we have more program, more grant money, more money to make sure that that's cleaned up, because most people that I talk to are like, it's a beautiful beach, but they wouldn't want to swim in it, right? Because it's unsafe. And why should that be the case? That shouldn't be the case for Lynn. So whatever the cost is, we need to provide that cost to make sure that the beach is cleaned up and that it stays in a way that's not polluted. Because we want to make sure that it's a nice, that it doesn't just look nice, but that you can actually swim in the water as well. Like, I wouldn't want my kids to swim in the water. And a lot of times they have like the flags there that says it's not safe to swim, and people are still swimming in it, so it's concerning. So, yeah, we just need to do better by our beaches. Now, the flooding is a huge problem in specific parts of Lynn. A lot of it has to do with cleaning up the drains and making sure those are maintained. We need to make sure that happens all the time. It shouldn't just be the neighbors that are constantly out making sure. This should be a city issue, like the city should take a part in making sure the drains are clean. It's terrible. So imagine your basement floods, and then your insurance doesn't want to cover it, and you don't have money to cover this cost. Like, what do you do as a homeowner? Like, it's just terrible. Maybe we can have a program that could help homeowners when they have like incidents like that happen, like flooding in their basement and all their stuff is ruined, but the insurance doesn't want to pay for it. Like, maybe we can have a program that could help those people. Like, we just need to have more services in City Hall. And I know everything costs money, but we need to just have more grants and just bring more money into the city and figure out where we need to spend our money, right? Because it's so important that that our city is clean and safe for everybody. And same with the parks too. Like, the parks are beautiful in Lynn, but not all of them. Some of them have trash all over the place. Some of them are maintained really, really well. Like, if you walk around through Lynn, you see the differences in the different parts of Lynn, and that's not okay. Like, nothing against Ward 1, but they call it Ward Wonderful. Like, why can't all of Lynn be that? Like, it doesn't have to just be Ward 1. To be beautiful. Like, I was talking to somebody who lives near the beach, and I was like, well, how do you like living here? He's like, it's like living in paradise. And he steps from the beach And that should be everybody's like way of living in Lynn. Everybody should feel like, oh, I live in Lynn, it's like living in paradise. That is what I would like to see for all of Ward 4 and all of Lynn. Thank you.
All right.
To those who know me, I've organized candidates forums in the past, and I felt like these questions have been happening all the time, and especially if I'm from Ward 3 and King's Speech is Ward 3, it really affects a lot of people as well. I don't claim I have the answers and everything, but one thing for sure, I can put everybody in one table in one setting. In Ward 3, there might be people that are, anybody in the city that have all the full knowledge to this. I have a friend who's an environmental scientist sitting here. Me and him will have coffee and talk about things. But one thing for sure, we cannot do this alone. We need to bring everybody, especially it takes millions of dollars to fix old pipes, and this is an old city. So we need to bring state representatives, state senators. There's already a focus group created by Lori Elric pre-pandemic, bringing everybody from Swampscott and Lynn and representatives and officials and finding ways to fix the problem. A few months ago, we had a call, and Representative Ehrlich was there, and I actually asked the question, what happened to that group? She said they will reconvene again and come back after it's safe to meet. So this conversation will continue. I hope during the next election we will not ask the same questions, and that deals with old flooding as well. It boils down to old streets and old pipes. I think we need to bring everybody together, sit in the table, and to just have that conversation and go from there. That's all. Thank you.
If there was a card brought up, you could give it to Pat and we can save it to the end.
So yeah, Mike actually, no, it's a comment. The beach is run by the state, so that's, I'm right. It needs to bring everybody there, state representative, state senator. It's not just the city, and everybody needs to be at that table. Thanks, Mike. Where's Mike?
I think he left.
He left, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Our next question starts to focus on housing. And this will be brought to us by a representative of the Highlands Coalition.
Hi, my name is Tish. I'm from the Highland Coalition, and I live in Ward 4. My question is, the housing crisis and the financial impact of COVID-19 are deeply affecting the community in your ward. And strong action are necessary to prevent families from being displaced. Would you support passing the housing production plan prepared by the MAPC as a baseline from which to work toward more just and affordable housing policy in Lynn? And if so, what would you advocate for beyond this plan and to maintain and increase access to good quality affordable housing in Lynn?
Thank you, Tish. In 1996, I came to this country because a lot of first-generation immigrants want something to better their life. I came to this country because I want to live my life openly, honestly, and freely as a gay man, to meet the love of my life, and to live happily. But it's not a walk in the park. Like, you have to have challenges in life. I rented my first apartment back in LA, and having that experience of paying monthly and raising that money, and it's have the struggles to raise money. Even that experience of going back to your apartment and it's padlocked by the landlord because you cannot pay your rent. Going from apartment and places to families and friends, it's just a horrible, horrible experience. What I have now is a blessing, but I have that experience and I know how it feels to be homeless, to sleep in my car because there's nothing to go home to. I think support programs, not only just the Lynn housing plan. Yes, I will support that 100%. It's in my website. It's not even a question. I have a lot of conversations, a lot of Zoom meetings with a lot of people. It's not a question, but I'm just sharing this story because I know how it feels. It's not just, it's a politician thing. I will support because a lot of you are supporting it. But I support because I know how it feels to be homeless and how it feels to be, you don't have dignity because you don't have your own home. And we need to work, not only that housing plan, we need to fully implement that 100%, but continue pushing for our public officials to really push for it, vote for it, and continue eyeing for it. Thank you.
So for me, I definitely do support the housing production plan. I definitely would support, we need to do better as far as housing. When you call it a crisis, that's definitely what it is. So when I moved, so I grew up in Dorchester, and after college I moved to Lynn because it was cheaper to live. I could no longer afford to live in Dorchester because the price of rent was so high. So when I moved to Lynn, it was much cheaper. Now here we are, 23 years later, and the cost of rent is ridiculous. Okay, like this is like way beyond like what Boston prices were. It's just like Boston all over again. So for me, it's personal, right? Because I have a 22-year-old daughter and she is looking for an apartment. She cannot find an apartment because they are too expensive. And that just means that she's gonna stay at home longer, which, you know, I mean, we all want our kids to like one day turn 18, go to college, and then, you know, like move out. That is the idea. And I know I can't be the only one that has a young adult at home that's kind of stuck in this situation. So what we need to do beyond that is have more programs in Lynn for these young adults to be able to become homeowners, because that is how we're gonna build generational wealth. That is what we need to pass on to our kids. When I think of renting, it's almost like leasing a car. It's a waste of money. It's money down the drain. If you own your home, then you're building equity. And that is what I want for my daughter. Why should she pay $2,000 for rent when she can just pay a mortgage? That's the idea, right? That's what we want for all our kids, so they will be able to stay here. We became homeowners in 2008. We bought our house down with my parents, who were also renting at the time, because the price, they were having the same issues. Like, my dad's disabled and the price of rent just kept going up. So we bought our house together, so now I know I don't have to worry as much about that, about my own parents, because I was worried about them. So it's wonderful to be a homeowner, but not everybody has that luxury. There's so many people that can't afford the rent that they have. And if you don't qualify for a specific program, you are paying to live in a crappy apartment. So these landlords, they don't live in Lynn and they don't take care of their apartments. We need to do better and make sure that we're cracking down on the landlords to make sure that they're taking care of their apartments so that people don't have to live in slum places. We need to do better, because everybody should be living in a safe condition, and it's not okay. So yeah, definitely I am all about, affordable housing. Have you looked at the apartments on Monroe Street? Beautiful apartments. Let me tell you, I would love for my daughter to be able to afford to live there, but she can't. And most young adults can't. Nobody can. I don't know who they're marketing these houses to, but it's not for our people. They're pushing us out, and it needs to stop.
Thank you so much for those passionate responses. And for what it's worth, candidate Figueroa Perez did submit a response that doesn't quite match this question, but I feel it's important to note that she also supports this housing plan and would like to kind of like second most of the things you said. In most of her responses, she said, if the intention is to provide better quality housing with better and modern units, still at an affordable rent, then my vote will always be yes. This will benefit the working class, and as well as those who are not able to pay market rate housing. I will always vote for the benefit of the people of Lynn. So, thank you for her response. And the last of our prepared questions is about to come up from Denise or from a member of Neighbor to Neighbor. And that just means we have one last chance for you to get your questions in. I have some on the side here I'm really excited to read. And if anybody else has a question, please make sure to write it down on your card, hold it up so our ushers can bring it up. We have plenty of time to address any of the audience's questions and concerns.
So our wonderful member Denise was not able to make it tonight. So our other wonderful member Sarah is going to be asking this question.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Keenan, and I'm a Ward 1 resident and a member of the Neighbor to Neighbor Lynn chapter. Thank you both for being here. The question that I would ask is, residents across the city are seriously impacted by the need for improved infrastructure. For example, there have been issues of severe flooding throughout the city, even though new pipes have been put into place, and many roads are dangerously damaged and in need of serious repair. How will you address the issues of broken infrastructure in Lynn, especially in neighborhoods with less financial resources? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for the question. So the infrastructure is a very important, right? So on our street, we live on Beacon Hill Ave, so the street was in terrible condition for a long time. There's so many streets that are really like in need of repair. And what do? They just repave over streets that don't even need repaving, which is weird, but that's what's happening. It doesn't make any sense, but it's crazy because so many times you can drive and you're driving, it's like driving through like, I don't know, it's like a war zone because of the potholes that are in Lynn. Like, we need to do better, but when you drive through like Linfield Street, you don't see that. Like, we need to make sure that our roads are taken care of. We need to make sure that when it snows that we have a response that's right away. And it needs to, when they do the snow removal, it needs to go all the way down to the pavement. It's crazy when you drive from Lynn to the neighboring town and it's like, wow, it's like night and day. Like, they're not doing a good enough job as far as taking care of the snow removal. And in different parts of Lynn, that's not the case. So why isn't it the same across Lynn? Like, that's what we need to make sure that we do better job of. Like, infrastructure is important. Like, we're taxpayers. Where's our tax money going? Like, why are we not getting the same services? We need to make sure that we get better services. Like, every year our taxes are going up, but the services are not going up, in my opinion. So we just need to do better. Infrastructure, flooding, all these problems. Like, just look at other communities. Like, I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel. Just look at a community that's doing it right and do the same thing. Like, that's it. It's not rocket science. We need to just do better across the board as far as infrastructure. Yeah, so.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, okay, so that's some of the ways I would like address that. So the infrastructure, so what do you do like when you drive on a pothole, right? And then you damage your car. This is really hard this is a real problem for somebody who doesn't have a ton of money in the bank, right? So what do you do if you need to get to work and you like now have ruined your tire and you don't have immediate cash to fix that? Like, this is a huge problem, like, right? So we need to just do better so this doesn't keep happening, because it's in the poor neighborhoods where you see or the poorer neighborhoods is where you see like the damaged streets. And those are the people that don't have the money in their pockets to just be like, oh, broken tire, I got the 300, whatever, no problem. So we need to look out for each other to make sure that Lynn is do it better for all its citizens all across the entire ward. That's what I would say. Thank you.
First of all, I would like again to reiterate to thank each one of you for coming. The fact that you're here is because you're concerned with our city. You're not here just to listen to us talk, but just to make that contribution at the same time listen. As a voter myself, I really wish that the other candidates that are here, especially the incumbent, or somebody that runs all the time, because I want to listen. I want to hear what they have to say. Maybe I will learn something from them. It's really important, and it just, again, really makes me sad that there's just two of us here talking most of the time. And I also would like to acknowledge there are candidates here who are also concerned and love our city, and they're here. So I would like to acknowledge Marvin over there, running for at large. And Lenny Peña over here, running for school committee. Thank you guys, the fact that you're here, we felt we're not alone, the two of us. You know, while I was door knocking, I was asked several times, and this is true story. I have some of my colleagues here who are helping with the campaign. We hear this all the time. If we're going to vote for you, are you going to shovel my house like this incoming councilor is doing? And my answer is always say, no. You don't. The job of a city councilor is to make ordinances, local laws, to make sure that services are properly delivered to you. We are not there to shovel your house, to clean your backyard. One thing I will do though, and I told every resident that asked me that question is, I will make sure if you have a problem with snow removal, I will be there in front of your house with my phone, with DPW on the other side, making sure they'll be there on time and helping you. If there's a problem with money, they need more staffing, then we need to sit down as city councilors to increase funding so that city services to you will be properly on time and properly delivered. So again, we need to work together, because if you're not voting, you will be electing the same people over and over again. If you're not going to register people to vote, you will see the same people over and over again. We need new faces in our city council to reflect our city we love. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. We have a number of questions that have come in from the audience that we're going to turn to now. And one of them is, oh yes.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
We are all members of the community. We are you guys, you know? Let's just make this informal. We need to hear from you too. If you have advice or inputs from us, not just by reading question, if we suck in answering that question, give us your input. We need to hear from you. And if Marvin will allow, and don't want to put you in spotlight, they could give their input as well. Let's make this as informal as possible. Our goal is to get answers, real answers. When we're going to be elected, we will make sure that all your thoughts and your suggestions will be delivered. No offense to the organizers, but if we can have that, that would be great.
Great. So would you like members of the audience to step
Yes.
up and ask their questions?
We have some wonderful questions here that have been asked by the audience.
Or you can read what they have, and they can have follow-up questions, or
Excellent.
they can answer that too
Mhm.
if they want.
So just in kind of, along the same lines of what we were just talking about with infrastructure, one of the questions that came in from a member who's not here, an audience member who's not here, and a lot of these questions are plans. So they'd like to know your plans. This one is about what are your plans to resolve, and this I think goes along with infrastructure for repairing roads, repairing streets. When we think about the streets along Ward 3 and 4, this person's asking specifically about Chestnut Street from Essex to Broad Street. When you think about that road and its congestion, what are your plans to resolve severe parking problems? What could be your plans for helping to improve or repair the infrastructure of Ward 2 and 3 and 4 roads?
Do you want me to start? Yeah. I think if elected, I need to sit down with our budget, our finance people at City Hall, and just review every finances that deals with infrastructure and road services. We have this is the same problems over and over again since I moved here 18, 19 years in Lynn. Same problems. In fact, we have a friend that who lives in Swampscott will always say, if they're sleeping, help me out here, so if they're sleeping, you know you're in Lynn because of the quality of our road. And you know you arrived at Swampscott because of the quality of their road. So it's a big slap in our face because we live from Lynn, and they will laugh at it. But you know, we have to review the budget and make sure that that problem will be implemented. Problem that needs to be fixed needs to be fixed the soonest possible time. It boils down to budget.
So what I would say is providing constituent services is key, right? So you need to be the type of elected official that actually responds and calls people back right away. So that's like key, right? So if you see a mattress in the street or whatever is going on, that you can reach out to that person and they can like respond right away. That's how the response should be. There should be, so we need a team. We need a team of people. I'm ready when elected to like work with the new councilors because there's gonna be some changes. I'm ready for change, and those new councilors and all the ones that are gonna stay, we're gonna all work together because it takes a team effort. If you look at the 4 elected, at-large councilors there for the entire city. So when you're not but what I'm saying is like these councilors and everybody, they talk a big game when they are running for office. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. You only see them at election time. They'll say whatever it is to get your vote, which is crazy to me. Like, don't make promises you can't keep. I can tell you that I will work hard, and if I don't know the answer, I will be able to like direct you to somebody who does, because I don't know all the answers. If I don't know a lot of the answers, so I think that what we need to do is talk to each other and work together as a team, and that's how the whole city council should work. As a team, we all help each other, right? So if one of them can't get to it that minute, then another one, they should be like a chain. Like they should all just work together. And why shouldn't they all work together? It doesn't matter if you're Ward 1, Ward 3, wherever you are, you're a city councilor, just work together to make sure that this is a person in Lynn that's having an issue. You should be able to step up and help them. Like, that's it. Like, it's all about providing services, and it doesn't matter which part of the ward you live in, or, I don't know. For me, I just want to say a little bit about what Coco mentioned about Colucci not being here. This man has been in office in this position for 30 years, and like, he doesn't want to stand here and he doesn't want to debate me because why? Why? You just have to ask yourself why. Like, who are you voting for? Why aren't you here to defend your record? What are your plans? Like, I want to know what he's planning. What is he planning on doing? Like, you've been in office for 30 years. What have you done? What are you going to do? Like, why should people keep electing you? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, how do you not take this seriously? Why is he not here? I'm sorry, I just don't get it. Be here, be present, care. Like, you don't even have a website. How do you reach this man? Like, it's just not okay. Like, so many people that I talk to are like, oh, he doesn't call me back. And, you know, I think that's true. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't say that you call everybody back and then don't. You only call your select few back. Do you only care about the people who live on Ocean Street? I'm sorry, nothing against Ocean Street, but like, care about all of Ward 4, not just little parts of it. So just be that person that really cares. Like, show up. That's the person.
Mr. Moderator, I would like to yield my time.
For the record, the moderators put away the reminder of time placard. You guys can rip it.
But seriously though, in reality, you need to vote a lot. You need to vote us, because in reality, I'm just a one person. If I'm elected, I need to work with all city councilors, right? It's a numbers game. It's not that I could stand there and yell and yell at them, but at the end of the day, everybody will vote. So it's really important for us to have a good relationship with each one of them. We might not have the same principles and ideas, but at the end of the day, you need to push for your agenda and have that relationship with that city councilor. But it will also be good if you will elect Marvin, me, Nicole, whoever's new here, to have that balance of power at our city council.
Thank you so much.
Can I say last one? Whoever asked that question, if you have ideas and input, or whoever is listening, if you have idea and input, we want to hear as well, because it's really important for us to learn from you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think along those lines, it sounds like there's a theme of showing up, being present, being heard, and there's also, along those lines, representation of your ward, representation of your community among the councilors, among the city councilors. And I think, Mr. Pena, I gave you your question because I'd love for you to step up now and ask for that. I think it's a great time.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Lenny Pena. I'm a candidate for school committee. Just want to throw that out. Okay, I don't know if many of you know, but I am the first Hispanic employee of the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission. We have a city that has 86% people of color and 67% Latino. What will you do to ensure that we hire more minorities to represent the diversity in the city, to hire people in the city of people of color? And will you advocate for
I'll go first, so you can gather your thoughts, because I know you're a good closer. I like it. When I moved to Lynn, I've been doing a lot of counseling and HIV testing and exchange of needle program. You can see me at 3 o'clock in the morning in downtown Lynn. That was 18 years ago. We've been talking to a lot of people that hang out at downtown Lynn at those period of time. And one thing that I've encountered and acknowledged is that a lot of them are moving out of Lynn because there's really no opportunity in the city. I think the vital key is education. I think you need to reach out to these communities and provide opportunities, provide materials for them to learn what are opening at the Lynn. You see that on Facebook. Okay, there's opening in Lynn now. You apply, click this link. But everybody don't have Facebook. Everybody don't have computers. So what other ways and factors for us to deliver that message? Create a team probably of volunteers or interns to go to different areas, different communities, and just give them an update of what's opening in the city of Lynn. Number 2, when you apply for a lot of organizations, especially nonprofit organizations, there's a line that says you prioritize person of color, or prioritize if you're an LGBT, if you're applying for an LGBTQ position. Why don't we do that in Lynn? Have that team that makes that decision. We can also do a mentoring program like Lynn. We can bring you to a community where predominantly person of color, and just talk about your work and how excited your work is, and encourage these kids to apply if there's opening. And if there's opening, you'll be our ambassador of goodwill to make sure that there will be more representation in your department. And that carries on from one program, from one department to the other. Thank you.
Wow, Lenny, thanks for that question. It just pisses me off when you say you're the first Hispanic ever to work at that just doesn't make sense. This is Lynn, that alone, that statement just pisses me off. That's not okay. How is that even possible? How is it 2021 and you are the first? I just can't get over that. Sometimes I feel like we're walking in a time zone, and we're walking backwards. So it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I just feel like we need to do better at advertising jobs, like you said. I feel like it's all about who you know, right? And this is why City Hall is predominantly white, because most of the workers are white, because it's all about who you know, and that's how you get a job at City Hall. At least that's what I've been told, and that's what people's experience has been. And we need to just do better this needs to happen in the schools. This needs to happen in the police department. This needs to happen in the fire department. Every department needs more people of color, in this city that's so diverse. To not have that is a shame. We need to do better. This isn't okay. why should we have to leave Lynn to go get a good paying job? Like my husband works at Quincy, I work in Malden. Like why can't we work in Lynn? Why don't we have good paying jobs right here in this city? It doesn't make any sense. We should be able to have good paying jobs here. And I agree with everything that Coco said, especially about like engaging the kids. Like get the kids excited about the work that you do. Like, you know, these are the good paying jobs, this is how you get them. The same thing with the teachers, because we need more people of color to go into teaching. This has to be taught like from a young age. Like when I first wanted to be a teacher, someone along the way was like, oh, you can't be a teacher because they don't make any money. So that's why I became a lawyer. But that's terrible. Like that is not okay. We need to teach our kids that we need, like you can change the world by being a teacher. There's so many great teachers in the world. And how different is your experience if you have a teacher that's a really good teacher and your teacher looks like you? That's different. Like it just lands on
Yeah. We really want to hear from you guys. If you have other inputs from us, that would be great. Sunil, you raised your hand?
No, I was stretching.
Can I just say that I think that Coco here has taken over the meeting away from Pat?
Well, because as candidates, we need.
I like that. I like that. So he's all about taking initiative, and that's what we need. Take initiative. This is what needs to happen, and let's make it happen.
Is it okay?
Yeah. I just wanted to say, if people could come up to the mic, I think that might work best.
Right.
We have plenty of time.
That would be great.
Clearly, incumbents aren't here. We only have these two wonderful folks, so we have time for
We have
questions.
the number 30.
We have plenty of time. Somebody call Colucci and get him down here.
Just a comment. There are many jobs in Lynn that hire people from outside, so it should be a priority to hire people from Lynn.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. Why not? One thing that we didn't get to talk about is our 300 nonprofits in Lynn. What we need to do is connect the dots, right? So we need to connect all these nonprofits so that they all talk to each other. Why are we having, they just need to all work together? What I think we should do is do community mapping. So we have a community map where all the communities together, all the nonprofits can be on a little virtual map that you can click on and say, well, this one does this one does that, and make it super easy. And all we need to do that is get a young person, because they're all super smart. And my little niece that's sitting in the front can probably do it. We just need to think more outside the box and figure out how we can connect all these resources. It just needs to be easier. When you are struggling and you need help, you should just be able to click a button. Okay, this is what I need. I'm going to click on this, and this is where I can find that help. And this can happen within our own communities as well. We can have mapping, power mapping. We can have community mapping within every single ward. If I need to know if I need a plumber, I should be able to click on a map and say, okay, here's all the plumbers in Ward 4, because these people have opted into this map, and I can reach out to them. Why wouldn't if I need a plumber, why wouldn't I want to go right to my neighbor? But if I don't know who they are, then I'm going to go outside of Lynn or somewhere else. You just need a map that should be ward-based, and then Lynn-based, and then ward-based. That way we can know. I need to refix my porch right now. How do I do that? I would love to hire a neighbor that lives right next door on my street, but I don't know that information. So it needs to be somewhere that people can easily access, right? So that we can do better as a community, get to know our neighbors. Why not support your own neighbor? Don't you want to do that? If I'm gonna spend money on a porch, I want to support somebody that lives right here in Lynn. Why not give back to our own people?
Do you have more questions there? No? Okay. I just wanted to know, I didn't ask them to wear Coco t-shirts.
So you both support the Lynn Plan for Inclusive Housing. What are your thoughts on why it has not yet been brought before the City Council? I believe the City Council President has been urged to bring it to a vote. I could be wrong. So why do you think it hasn't been brought before the City Council for a vote? And do you think we could get it to the City Council for a vote before the election?
I think because it's election season, they're afraid to bring it to a vote, right? Because but that's the thing, you need to pick a side. You can't just say, oh, I'm reviewing the plan. How long are you gonna review the plan? Right. Make a decision, this needs to work or not work. Just stand one way or another, come to a conclusion. We don't need, like, people don't have all day when they can't pay their rent and they're being thrown out of their apartments. Are they gonna just be like, oh, I have plenty of time? No, they don't have time, because we're in a crisis right now. We need help. So many people, the pandemic has been terrible, right? And this city specifically has been really, really hard. Like, because a lot of our frontline workers work in grocery stores. And do you know they're living in houses with 15, like a lot of people in one apartment? Like, that is not okay. And what is City Council doing about that? Like, this housing crisis is a crisis because it's not being addressed right now. Like, this should be addressed right now, tomorrow, make a vote, like, do whatever needs to be done, because there's plenty of money coming into the city. Where's it all going? Like, why are we not helping our own people? We need to just pick a side. Don't just, if I hear one more time, oh, we're reviewing the plan. How long do we need to review the plan? Make a decision. People don't have all day.
She answered it. I have no answer, Beth, why they've never passed or reviewed or been entered in the agenda. That's something for me to find out. If my destiny is favorable to me come election time, and then I will definitely report back to you why. And I agree with Natasha wholeheartedly, 100%. It's a priority and it needs to be passed as soon as possible. That's why you need to vote. Everybody needs to vote.
All I want to say is vote for my aunt, Natasha Madrid. She's trying to make our land a better place. So all I want to say is thank you.
That was so sweet. Thanks, Olay. So it's all about the youth, right? Because one day my niece is going to run for office. That she's been door knocking with me since she was born, right? Since she was a baby. So she knows, like, yeah, we're going door knocking because this is important. Because the more people we talk to, the better our chances are, right? So we really want to improve Lynn. And this is how we're going to do it, by voting. But not just voting, by bringing the young people with us. Because they need to see you voting. Because they need to know, oh, well, this is how things change. How do things change? By going to the voting place and making a change. Not saying that, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter. If you don't vote, then you don't have a voice.
We actually did have a question submitted. If the person who asked about after-school programming would like to ask their question.
Sorry to interrupt. Pat, did you want to thank our translator? She's going to head out.
Yeah. So I got this question written in Spanish, which thank you so much for bringing your questions in any language. We appreciate them. And to that point, we wanted to thank Elsabel, who was helping us translate this whole evening. Muchas gracias. And so the question that came in is, ¿qué planes tiene para programas después de la escuela extracurricular, actividades para la excelencia educativa de nuestros hijos? What plans do you have for after-school programming for the betterment of our kids?
Well, so we do have some after-school programs in Lynn, but we need more, right? Because some of it's not affordable. So if you're working, let's say you're working a regular paying job, why should most of your money go to childcare? Which is what's happening to a lot of low-income people, right? Because we need to do better, and that's not okay. We want our kids to be in a safe environment. So in order for that to happen, we need more options, right? Because the Y program, there's several programs, so like the Y, the Boys and Girls Club, all these different options are available, but they're very expensive. So if you don't have a voucher, which is basically you have no income, but if you don't have a voucher, how do you pay for this? Like, it's really hard. Like, if you can't, like, what's the point of working and just to pay childcare? Like, I was lucky when my kids were little, I had my mom there to watch my kids, but not everybody is that blessed and that lucky. And we just need to make sure that we have more programs, that we need to make sure these programs are safe and they're conducted in a safe way. My kids when they were older, were lucky enough to go to the YMCA, which they had lots of friends and lots of good mentors there, and we just need more programs like that, because I don't think there's a waiting list. Like, my niece couldn't get into the Y because there was a waiting list, so that shows that we need more programs like that. So I would advocate for grants and to bring more programs like that to Lynn.
Thank you, Natasha. After school program is, when you talk about after school program, and I totally agree, there should be programs and funding needed for after school program. But when you talk about after school programs, it's not only about the majority of kids who identify themselves as straight. After school programs should also be focused with the LGBTQ plus community. I've been the executive director of NAGLI, which is the North Shore Alliance of LGBTQ youth, for 10 years. 15 years ago, me and some of my Lynn board members were looking for a space to bring NAGLI to Lynn, because we noticed 75% of our kids at NAGLI, which is based at the time in Salem, are from Lynn. They have to take a bus, they have to walk in order to go to NAGLI. NAGLI is their after-school program. They're not comfortable in going to Girls Inc., going to the Y or Boys and Girls Club. They want to go to a place where they could be themselves, talk to fellow LGBTQ kids. So we talked with some of the city officials here, and in fact, one of my board members here, Sunil, who's sitting there, was actually looking for that space, and we didn't have that support. And that's why NAGLI, until now, is still based in Salem, because they have all the support. So I totally agree 100% with Natasha. We need to get funding, we need to apply grants, we need to invest with grant writers. You know, grant writers, that's the best investment you can get for the city. Not only for infrastructure, but also for programs, after school programs like this.
Are there any other incredible questions from our audience? Okay.
I'll ask them that.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me, sorry, I wasn't prepared to ask a question. I've spoken to a lot of folks in the city who have had experiences with the criminal justice system, and I've worked with folks across the state who have had similar experiences. And I just wanted to sort of ask your thoughts on how we can provide support to people who have been incarcerated and are coming back into sort of coming out of that experience, and folks who have been in any way involved in the criminal justice system, which in our country is so broken and so harmful to people. I know that there are a lot of people in Lynn who have had that experience, and I'd like to know sort of, you've talked about pieces of it, but more specifically, how would you engage with that part of the population?
I can answer that question in two parts. Number one, we're both running for city councilors. So I want to make sure if we have a current program here in the city that provides that service. If we don't, then we need to create one. Again, utilize the resources coming from the state, the federal government, or any nonprofit organizations or programs that supports that. I have connections with the Black and Pink group. It's a incarcerated LGBTQ youth. And although my expertise is in the LGBTQ plus community, but if they have connection with all programs of other programs, it doesn't matter if you're LGBTQ or straight, but they have that connection. I think that expertise I will bring to Lynn and starting a focus group and having that conversation moving forward, so to assist incarcerated people who are from Lynn that just to return and have started a program for them.
I definitely would agree with everything that Coco said. I would also add to that, so we just need more. Have you filled out a job application lately? One of the questions they ask if you ever been convicted of a crime, it's really hard. Imagine if you went to jail over something that was minor, like marijuana. So many of our Black youth are in jail for stupid things that they just made a mistake. And should that haunt them for the rest of their lives? They're still members of our community. We need to provide services and a whole program to help them get back into the community and help them find jobs. Like, they need to be able to provide for themselves and be an active member of the community. So we can't look down upon them. We need to provide them help. We need to provide them help so that they can do better and survive, because nobody here in this room or in the world is perfect, and we've all made our mistakes, and we shouldn't have to pay for them for the rest of our lives. We still have a lot of potential. We need to honor that and make sure that we provide those services for those people that are looking for help.
And I'd like to take up more space, I'd like to correct my own wording. The criminal justice system in this country is not broken. It is designed to be harmful to Black and brown people in this country and to low-income folks. And thank you for your answers to that question.
Okay, we do have one last question from the audience here on a card, and I think it would be a great segue into any closing remarks that you would like to make for this evening, okay? So the question came as stated, what assets that you possess will help you be a great counselor for our community?
Wow, that's a great question. Let me go first, because if I go after Coco, forget it. Just kidding, I love Coco. What assets do I possess? So first of all, I think that I am very approachable. I think as a counselor, you should be that way. Like, you need to be like not somebody that, just like a regular person. We all put our pants on the same way. I am also a first generation college student, so I was the first in my family to go to college. And I know the value of working hard. I remember the day when my grandmother told me, when I was working at Burger King, she was like, oh, you can't go to college, just get used to working at Burger King. And I was like, no, that's not okay, like I want more. So I went to college, and I was the first in my family to go to a 4-year college. And yeah, it was good, but it wasn't, so when I got to college, I realized that the education that I went to BPS, Boston Public Schools, and once I got to college, I realized that I didn't get a lot of the education that I should have gotten, because I had all A's and B's, but still when I got to college, I wasn't ready for college. And I think that a lot of people have that experience. We need to make sure that our kids are being educated properly, so when they get to college, they can compete with everybody else. So it was hard for me, but I made it through. Like a lot of my friends, they didn't. They dropped out their first year, but I survived, I graduated. And I wasn't done after that. I went to law school. I went to New England School of Law because I wanted to help people. My parents were immigrants. They came to this country when they were 3 and 5. My grandfather's Dominican, and my parents were born in Haiti. And it's just like when they came here, they were taught, oh, well, don't speak your language, speak English. And that was terrible. Because of that reason, my mom and dad learned English. They still spoke their language, but they didn't teach me and my sister the language, which I think is not good, because then we can't teach our kids this language, which is a problem, right? We need to be proud of where we came from. But it was just that's how it was back in the day when my mom came here. So for me, back to like my story, I know the value of hard work, because I remember my grandmother came here first and she worked really, really hard. So I know, like I saw that growing up, so I know what it means to work hard. I've sometimes worked 2-3 jobs just to make whatever I needed to make sure my kids had everything that I wanted to give them. So I've always worked hard, and I believe that even though you don't have all the answers, you can look and research the answers. I believe, because I'm an attorney, that we have a different way of seeing things. Like, it's not black and white, it's always gray. Like, okay, don't just tell me no, tell me why. Like, don't just say yes, but don't just say like yes, yes, yes. No, I'm gonna be one of those counselors that's gonna ask questions. That's gonna say, well, why are you doing that? Or what does this mean? Because I don't think that a lot of people really know how everything works. And the only way they're gonna know is if we ask those questions. If we don't ask the questions, they don't know. So that's what I think that I would bring to this position, so that's why. I'm sorry.
I told Natasha this would be, since there's two of us here, this would be quick, and we're done, and we can have Chinese food after me and Peter. I want to make this opportunity to really talk about vaccine, COVID vaccine. You can find my information on my website, the flyers that I was given, probably a lot of stories about me and articles, but I just want to know who among you here, and you can answer this or not, who among you here have been vaccinated with COVID vaccine? Thank you. Who among you here who got the Moderna COVID vaccine? Raise your hand. Thank you. So, this guy here from Lynn is one of the 10 people who are part of the protocol team of the study of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. So, when everybody was busy either packaging, donating food, delivering food, I spent a lot of countless nights, sleepless nights, rushing things so that that study proposal will go to 30,000 participants. And because of that 10 people, including me, everybody around the world is now getting that Moderna COVID vaccine. So the reason why I'm saying this, because vaccine is really important. And even though you've already taken that vaccine, you need to advocate for people to get it. Because that's the only way for us to save lives and for us to continue this planet Earth, basically. I came to this country because I want to better my life. I want to, as I mentioned a while ago, I want to live as a gay man, not as somebody. I might have a good political future in the Philippines. My dad is a vice mayor. I come from a political family. I'm next in line to follow my dad's footsteps as the next mayor of our town. But I'm here in Lynn because being married to the person you love is more important than being the mayor and married to somebody that you're not even attracted with. So, and I was okay with that. I was totally fine with that. I already achieved my American dream. Me running for city councilor is an added bonus. I could tell my family back home that I'm following their footsteps. Halfway around the world, I'm running for city councilor, same as my grandmother, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. But I'm running in America, not in the Philippines. So thank you.
Thank you both so much for those candid, honest, and real responses. And thank you everybody who submitted questions and joined us here this evening. We just have a couple minutes to close out, and I just wanted to remind folks to, again, visit our voter registration table if you have any questions about getting an absentee ballot. If you need to change your address or get any information about your polling place, please join some of the folks out in the front hallway for that. There are also tables set up from ECHO and from Neighbor to Neighbor to speak with us about any volunteer opportunities if you want to get involved with events like this or anything else social justice and community organizing oriented. If you're passionate, you're all here. So that means you've all walked through a doorway that says like, I'm ready to commit to my community and to the people here. And that's what these organizations are about. So meet with people, talk with people, and find out how to get yourselves involved because we need you. I think that's all we have for this evening. Gabe, you want to close us out with just one last thing?
Sure, thanks Pat, and thanks for emceeing. Everybody give a hand to Pat for being a And thank you so much to Coco and Natasha for coming and speaking to us. And we're all community members here. And thank you to ECHO and to Highlands Coalition and Pathways and to our Neighbor to Neighbor team for making this happen. I'd just like to, little shameless plug for Neighbor to Neighbor. We are out trying to get people out to vote, get people involved in this stuff. We are made up of volunteers. We need folks to come help us go door to door and get people out to vote. The number of people who vote in municipal elections in Lynn is very low in comparison to presidential elections, etc. And we need you out there to make change to allow this type of change that we're talking about here to happen. So thank you so much.
And last couple thank you to Lenny Pena for coming by, and thank you to Marvin Hippolyte for coming by. And thank you to Lynn Arts and Dave for helping us out in the back and giving us this fantastic space. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you, everybody. Have an excellent evening, and we'll talk to you soon.